Most people think you have to own a property to get into Airbnb, and that's exactly what I thought 10 years ago. And what I'm going to show you in this video are how people are controlling the property without even buying the property and starting for less than $2,000. Think about buying a property. So what would the average American actually have to do if they had to buy a house? Well, think about this. If you're working a job and you're working for somebody else and you're a W-2 employee, the thought of having 50 to 100 grand to actually be a real estate investor might be kind of scary. 9 years ago, before I got into this industry, I always thought that we had to buy a property, we have to have great credit, you gotta have, interest rates are gonna be going through the roof. That couldn't be further from the truth. So if you really think about buying a property, that requires you going to a bank and having a lot of documentation. And most banks are going to be looking at about a 650 to a 700 credit score to even be considered in purchasing an investment property. So with rising interest rates today and people without the greatest credit, how do they actually start Airbnb by controlling somebody else's property? This video is going to lay out exactly what I did in my journey from 2016 till today and how I started with very little money and how I did it without credit, without buying the property, and without even furnishing the units. What exactly is rental arbitrage? This is what a lot of people are talking about, and there's a lot of people leaving jobs because, during COVID, a lot of people went home, right? People were sent home from their careers, etc. But there's a lot of people that want to work remotely. They want to spend more time with their family, they want to spend time with the kids, they just don't want to listen to a boss, and they'd rather be their own boss. Remember, there's only two people in the world until retirement. There's the person who actually builds their dreams for their family, and then there's person number two who gets hired to build somebody else's. So if you really think about it, what arbitrage is, it's a fancy word for I'm going to rent a property from a landlord. Now, this is the breakdown. Imagine going to Zillow, and on Zillow, you find a rental property in an area that is good. We'll talk about some locations towards the end of this video. But essentially, you're gonna rent a property from a landlord who's gonna turn around and sign a document called a lease addendum. Now that document protects you because that document is what the landlord is signing to give you permission to use their house so you can put it on other short-term rental platforms. Now the landlord knows you're not gonna live there and they're okay with this. And I'm gonna share with you exactly in a second why the landlord would actually let you Airbnb their house. But if we're gonna rent a property from a landlord, what does that exclude us from? Well, a lot of people are so concerned about getting into Airbnb because they think of what happens if the property doesn't rent? Do I have to pay the taxes? Do I have to pay the electric and water? Do I have to, worry about if there's something that breaks in the property? These are all major concerns. I'm going to cover these in a second, but I want you to understand what rental arbitrage is as a high level. Imagine renting someone's property who gives you permission to take their property and list it on any short-term rental platform you want. Airbnb, vrbo, booking.com, Furnished Finder. These are great platforms and it's being omnipresent because the more platforms you're on, the more you're being put out there to the world. So if you've ever stayed in an Airbnb before, you know exactly how it works. You go to Airbnb, you see a property you like, you book it. Imagine you're the host now. And this is how people are making money while they're sleeping because people are actually booking their properties either while they're sleeping or while they're at the beach or maybe even while they're at work. And then once you get to a certain amount of properties, people go, well, does it really make sense? If I can increase my income more than my W-2, does it make sense for me to stay in the W-2 and double dip? Or does it make sense for me to get rid of the W-2 and basically full attention on my Airbnb company? And this is what I found over the last 9 years, that it obviously doesn't make sense. A lot of people are getting out of 9-to-5 jobs because it doesn't make sense to do both when I can put 100% attention on the business and scale it like crazy. Now let me give you exactly how the breakdown works as far as the revenue. And this is for no income claim purposes. Everybody's background, education, work ethic, drive, and the way the properties managed are completely different. So, but let's use a scenario that you rent a property for $2,000. Okay, now what you're gonna do to determine if that property actually is gonna make money on Airbnb was using a software that we've been using for over 7 years called AirDNA. So it's AIRDNA and it's .co. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take the address from Zillow. You're gonna copy the address. You're gonna then copy it into the software AirDNA. Now it's gonna give you the projected revenue. And basically the way the software works and why it's so accurate, it's over 98% accurate numbers. So what it says there for projected revenue that you guys can see right here is very, very accurate. The software says this: if you are here, let's say the property you're looking at is 123 Lala Street, and the software basically grabs 10 Airbnb properties that have been listed about a year on Airbnb. And it says, what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare your property to other listings that are on Airbnb for at least a year. So let's say that yours is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and there's 10 other Airbnbers right around you, and they're all doing $75,000 a year in gross revenue. Well, chances are that your property right smack in the middle of all these is probably gonna do right around $75,000 per year. So if you see projected revenue, here's the formula to determine your potential net profit. Means what goes in your pocket at the end after your expenses. We'll talk about expenses in a minute. You're gonna take the projected revenue and you're gonna use this very easy formula. You're gonna go divided by 12 because the projected revenue is a yearly. So if it says 75,000, you're gonna divide that number by 12 months. You're gonna take that new number and you're gonna minus out the 2,000 for the illustration, whatever they're charging for rent on Zillow. Then you're gonna minus out about $400, give or take. Some properties may be slightly more, some probably a little bit less in electric and water, but on average, $400 a month. So you have your 75, divide by 12, minus out the 2,000 for rent, minus out an additional $400 for electric and water, and that gives you potential net profit. In that case right there, let's do some math. Let's take the $75,000. Let's divide that number by 12 months. That's $6,250. From there, we're gonna minus the rent, which was $2,000 in this illustration, leaving us $4,250. Now we're gonna minus $400 for electric and water. That gives us a potential net profit of $3,850. Now, I know you're gonna ask, what about the cleaning? Well, let me tell you about the cleaning. If you've ever stayed in an Airbnb property, here's how it works. When you book a property or somebody books your property, they are gonna pay for the cleaning fee up front. So if you've ever been in Airbnb, let's say you booked your Airbnb for 5 nights, you're gonna pay for 5 nights plus 1 cleaning fee. Now when somebody stays in your property, guess what? They're gonna pay for how many nights they stay there, plus 1 cleaning fee. So you don't have to take the cleaning fee out of your profit because it's paid up front by the guest staying in the property. Does that make sense? And this is the biggest mistake that I feel that people that are getting into Airbnb fail right up front. And the reason why the failure rate is so high, and why would I tell you that? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the failure rate of people getting into Airbnb without help, without any coach, without anybody mentoring you, without a team of thousands of people behind you supporting you, it's very difficult, right? It's kind of like jumping out of a plane for the first time and saying, you know what, I'm gonna do it without being tandem, which means somebody, holding you so they know exactly when to pull the cord. But people do it anyway, and they watch a couple YouTube videos, and maybe they had a family member or friend that used to get into Airbnb. The number one mistake that you will make in any Airbnb venture is the way and the method you use to find the right city. Let's say you get into Airbnb and you believe that you should Airbnb in the city where you live. Well, let me tell you why that's a big mistake. Because a lot of people do not live in cities that are great for Airbnb, right? So let's say this example. Let's say that you live in a small town in Idaho. We're not talking Boise, we're talking a small town in Idaho. And that particular city has maybe 20,000 people. It's got a lot of farm town, it's got a lot of sheep. It's got more sheep than people. Should we actually Airbnb in this city just because we live in that market? No, it's silly to even say that. But this is what mindset people have when getting into Airbnb, that they should Airbnb where they live. And the reason they think this is because you never know when you're gonna have to drive over. I mean, what if something goes wrong in the property? How could you do it remotely? How could you, what happens if a pipe burst or a neighbor complains? I mean, you gotta be able to drive over at 3 o'clock in the morning, handle it. No, you don't. The business should be remote. Doesn't matter where you live, you should Airbnb in the markets, Jacksonville, Orlando, Scottsdale, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, Las Vegas, Henderson, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. That's to name 10 cities that are extremely good for Airbnb. Now, you happen to live in one of these cities? Great, but how do you know what zip code you should actually be in? Do you think it's just the city? Have there been areas in your city that you probably want to be at midnight by yourself? Of course, every city has that kind of area. So if I didn't share with you the zip codes in the city, would it even make sense? No, you gotta be in the great zip codes within the city. So this is where we go in depth as a company. We have over 3,000 students. We know exactly where to go, what markets to be in. It's been tested, it's been verified. We teach our students this market, this zip code, these are the properties. I've looked at tens of thousands of deals. I know which ones work, I know which ones don't. But on the second note, here's the thing. You guys should not be ignoring midterm rentals. What I teach is a combination of short-term and midterm. Let me explain. A short-term rental is, think about Airbnb, people coming in to vacation. They may stay for a day, 2 days, 5 days. Very, very rarely they'll stay longer than a week. Now, on the other hand, you have what they call corporate rentals. Now, a corporate rental is more of what they call an MTR. Short-term rental, STR. Corporate rental, MTR, midterm rental. That's travel nurses, doctors, patients, engineers, military. These are people that are coming into the property to work. Now, why is it good to mix and do a combo? Because if you're gonna just do Airbnb, you're gonna have a lot of parties, you're gonna have some drinks, people are gonna drug, people are gonna trash the place, neighbors are gonna complain. But what if you added in and sprinkled in people that were coming into work? Think of a travel nurse. He or she usually gets a 12-week contract. They're coming in for the next 3 months. They're not there to party. They're not there to drink all night. They're not there to hang out. They're not there to trash the place. Neighbors won't complain. They're not parking all over the grass. Why? Because they come into the property, they go to work, they go home, they go to sleep, they do it over and over again. This is a great combination to increase bookings, number one, and occupancy, but also to increase the likelihood that a landlord that you're reaching out to will actually let you do this in the first place. Hi, I want to Airbnb your house. Hi, I'm a corporate leasing company. We welcome in travel professionals. Would you be interested in allowing us to come into your property and share with you exactly what we do? As a free gift for you guys, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you a Airbnb cheat sheet. It took me years to basically create the document. And what I'd like to do for you guys, if you want to comment the word Airbnb, I'll shoot it right over to your email. No strings attached. This document will show you where to go, some of the best cities, what is the actual pitch to the landlord, how do we get them to say yes, how do we price it properly. It's basically a document as a beginner. Maybe you don't know where to get started. Maybe you're still working a job. You know, you want a better life. You just don't know where to get started. This document covers everything from beginner to intermediate so you can get your foot in the door and do it the right way. The key to Airbnb, guys, the key is to pick the right city in the right zip code and make sure that the properties are furnished the right way. Now that's another key for another video. So if you want to watch this next video, it'll have basically everything that how we get the properties furnished, how do we get them in a position to where the landlord gives us a free month to get into the property. But if you click below, let me send you over this free document as a blessing for you guys being here. Put the word Airbnb in comments and I'll shoot it right over right now. Thanks for watching.